Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
I'm Egbert, the owner of this station. Check out my website at egbert.com. That's E-G-G-B-U-R-T, egbert.com. Now it's back to Brad and John. Check out their website at bjshow.co. The BJ Show? Come on, guys. Anyway, here's B and J.
And one time to mention this, if you are listening to this show on our podcast or on our YouTube channel, that is bjshow.video, we actually do this show live, so you're listening to a recorded version if you listen to it at some point in the future. If you're not listening online or off the radio, OTAs we call it, over the air, 7 to 8 every morning, Monday through Friday, John and I get together, and you can always check out John Combest's website at johncombest.com. And we haven't given you a plug for a book yet, but what's that book again, John? Tell us about the book.
Yeah, it's called Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling. If you or someone you know has been attacked online or has gotten in a little Facebook tiffle, and you're kind of wondering how to go about it, not just for SEO purposes or reputation management purposes, but how it really affects you, you can check out my book on Amazon. Thanks for the opportunity to plug that, Brad.
Yeah, no problem. Matter of fact, way back when we first got to know John, he gave us, both Shelley and I think we had lunch with you, and you sent us PDF proof copies of your book, and I read it literally from front to back and was very impressed. Has a lot of scenarios in there. And to the point, as we become more and more a society that revolves around social media, like anything, alcohol is good, alcohol is bad, social media is good, social media is bad. And there's two sides of the equation, and if you end up on the bad side of social media, there's some cures for that in John's book. So check it out. And I always say the easy way to find it at Amazon is just go in and just in the search bar, just type in John's name, John Combest, and it comes right up. There it is, right? Okay, lots of stuff to talk about this morning, and I've been running late all morning long. I apologize to you on that, John.
Hey, don't apologize. We've had great discussions, Brad.
Here's the thing this is sort of inside baseball kind of thing. There is a huge fight, a turf war fight going on between creators. On one hand, the people who are the musicians and the singers and things like that, who are not happy about there's various companies that now are doing the AI song kind of stuff, where you literally can go into a website, put in like some, a couple, like I actually type in like a hook line. In other words, like, I want the best husband in the world, and the thing will create a song for you, okay? And it's interesting because I think it's RIAA, which is the Recording Industry Advancement Association or something like that, is going after these websites and suing them, saying that they're actually ripping off the artists, because even though they're not essentially, using the music, it's not like they're doing karaoke where they're grabbing like the instrumental and just putting new words in. They're creating something from the ground up. They're claiming that the reason that they're able to do that is because the AI bots go out and search the web and essentially become educated as to, if you say you want John's the best guy in the world song, and you say you want it as a big band thing, it goes out and searches big band music. It takes the style of music it hears, it turns that into an algorithm and essentially generates a song. Okay, there's a big battle on that, which is still going on. The battle that I thought was interesting, that just came out yesterday, AFTRA, which is the American Federation for Television and Radio Artists, and SAG, they joined together. AFTRA and SAG has now essentially endorsed AI. And what's interesting about this is, to me, this is, and I want to ask John what he thinks about this. They're essentially, AFTRA essentially saying, okay, it's okay if you use people's voices. In other words, they're essentially saying that if you have somebody like, and I'm just using an example, a guy who has a very distinctive voice. What's the guy's name?
Well, how about Tupac? He has a very distinguishable voice, and he's dead.
Well, but see, that's the problem. He's dead. The guy I'm thinking of, who's the guy has the big deep voice? He's been in so many movies. I love his he was in the original Roadhouse, stuff like that. Why can't I remember his name? He's been in Up in the Air. He's the airline pilot that comes out and talks.
Okay, but we'll go with that.
Okay, so under this new agreement with AFTRA and SAG, they're essentially saying they will allow third parties to license the voice and essentially import that voice so that their computers, their own systems, can essentially synthesize that person's voice, whatever they say. So in other words, you're essentially renting the algorithm. So you can go to,
Wow.
So in other words, and you can do this right now. I've actually done this where and the thing you got to watch out for is and I've never done it where I put it on the air, stuff like that, but just as an experiment, somebody that I knew that sent me a commercial who quite honestly was sort of a jerk, and I decided to go and have some fun with him. I took that commercial and I ran it through one of these systems, and essentially it cloned his voice, and I could type in anything he wanted to say. I could say, Brad is the best guy in the world, and he would say that in his voice. So that's what AFTRA and SAG have essentially agreed to, is that if you get permission. Now, the interesting thing about this is, think about this up for a minute. These actors and actresses, and especially the voiceover people, they make money by you send them a script, they read the script. Now they don't have to do anything. You just.
That's great. I mean, it's great for them, right?
Right. You just send them a voice sample. They sample it. They put it in their computer. Then they tell you, okay, I'm going to use your voice saying this. Now there's parameters. You can't use your voice to say nasty words or to.
Right. For sure. And that would be in the contract.
Right. To disparage people and say that Joe Biden, he's a wonderful guy. Even though you don't think he is. I thought this was fascinating because of the fact that the unions, for the most part, have rejected this, because there's so many people right now that are saying, oh, AI is going to ruin talent. It's going to ruin talent because there's going to come a point when the AI is going to get so good that you won't even have to hire actors anymore. You can just have AI. And already, I get these things all the time. There's a huge, and you being a corporate guy, there's a huge, and matter of fact, I know for a fact because one of the guys that I used to do some voice work, he's told me his business is pretty much just disintegrated because of the fact that what's happening now is that the corporate people who are doing in-house training are using if they're doing just audio, they're using AI, or if they're doing video, they're hiring these companies, or actually using these companies, that they put a script into the thing, and the talking head just tells you, hi, Jim, thanks for coming to the orientation for how to use the XYZ nipple chaser. Here's what you do. You open up the device, and it's all in the computer system, and these guys are just grinding out, instructional videos. John, you being a corporate guy, did you ever get yourself involved with instructional videos or educational videos or onboarding videos with the corporate people?
This is a great opportunity to talk about one of the most creative people I worked with, who is tangentially involved in St. Charles County politics, a gentleman named Chris Ferguson. And I don't think Chris would mind me saying his name on the air, but Chris worked for many years for Monsanto, and now he still works for Bayer. And we had an internal group that Chris led that did instructional training videos. So, as a corporate employee of a big company, you have to do a certain amount of trainings every year on different topics. And Chris and his team would put together these incredible videos that would take super boring topics like campus safety and how to cross the street the right way and how to, keep yourself safe in the workplace. And instead of making them boring corporate videos, would actually add a lot of color and humor to them. And I imagine today, now Chris, as I understand it, is still an employee of Bayer. But today, I think you could take an AI. If you were a company that didn't want a whole lot of imagination, you could replace that whole video group with an AI voice and some stock images from an AI program to get the same message across. You wouldn't get the same engagement. You would lose a whole lot. But yeah, Brad, you could eliminate an entire group of creative videographers just by using AI.
Well, I've got a thing that I use from time to time. I do a fair amount of video, and I don't necessarily use this. It's a company, I think it's called InVideo.io, I believe, or what it is. And what I use it for like graphics and things like that. It has a really good component if I want to do something where I'm going to try to show somebody, if I want to do like a graphic slide. It does like animated graphics and things like that. But one component of it is you essentially type in a script, and it will essentially create an entire video with images that correspond to the language or to the verbiage you put in, and it does the voiceover. And you can say, okay, I want an older gentleman, 50 plus. I want a young woman who sounds like she's 25. I want a guy who has a British accent. And you just essentially put all this stuff in. You hit a couple buttons, and bongo, it creates the video with images. And if you want to upscale the video, it has stock images that are their own internal. But if you really want to get fancy, and they usually charge a little bit extra for this, you essentially can use the Getty image system, where it's using all these historical pictures and things like that, the Getty images. And there's a couple, I think is AFP is another one. You know what I'm talking about. It has the big library of all the,
Agency France de Presse.
Right. And it's essentially these organizations. The big one in the United States is Getty, where essentially what happens is, and a lot of times you see these photographers at various events and things like that, at political events, they essentially sell their images. If they're freelancers, they sell their images to Getty, and then Getty puts it in their computer system. So if you want to have a picture of Donald Trump in 2016 standing in front of the lectern at the time was the Peabody Opera House in downtown St. Louis, you call up Getty and they go, yeah, which video do you want? Do you want a close-up? Do you want a wide shot? Do you want a behind the scenes? This one's $50, this one's $30, this one's $20. And what this InVideo thing is, it gives you the option to automatically import those premium visuals into your, and I'm going like, and I've done it a couple times, and quite honestly, for me, I have dual emotions. One is like, oh my God, this is neat. And the other one is like, oh my God, who needs me anymore? You know what I'm saying?
I do know, yeah.
But
I mean, so the progress of this, I think, makes a lot of people nervous. And then, so let's go back to the music thing. Brad, what is because I can't think of one. Let me bias your answer here. But I can't think of a possible downside of using AI for music.
Well, here's what's interesting. I've done a lot of reading on this, and one day I heard a story on NPR about this. And the RIAA, and this was sort of interesting because the RIAA guy really had a point. And I will tell you this crazy thing. Do you know who Jason Derulo is?
I do, yeah.
Okay, do you know the interesting trademark that he has with all his music?
Well, at the beginning of the songs, he goes, Jason Derulo.
Right. In every one of his songs, he sings his name, or sometimes most of the time he sings it, but sometimes it's a synthesized voice, okay?
Yeah.
The RIAA guy, when they interviewed him, they essentially said, okay, let me give you an example of why this is really ripping off our artists. And they went in, the RIAA people, which is the Recording Industry Association, they went in and put in the prompts. I think this was the one they used was Suno. It's Suno.ai. And they put in the prompts, and they said exactly what they wanted. And what they did was they described a Jason Derulo song without saying Jason Derulo in the prompts. And if you know anything about AI, the big thing is the prompts. You have to have the right prompts. So they put in this long string of prompts. It had to be like contemporary, hot AC kind of music. And the interesting thing was the song it generated, as the song starts, the AI went, Jason Derulo. And I'm going like, okay, I think, I swear. And the RIAA guy said, okay, if that's not proof that they're using our artists' content to generate this AI, I don't know what more we could show. And I'm thinking to myself, man, he's got it nailed. In that respect. Now, go behind the scenes. They may have done that for days, sending in all sorts of prompts. Sure. And let's say after doing 10,000 attempts, they got a song that started with Jason Derulo. But once again, it sort of shows you that AI, what it's doing is it's going out there and it's looking at the stuff that's out there. The problem is, what if it grabs the wrong stuff? What if it grabs a website? What if it grabs, like if you're saying, okay, write me a story about American history, and the AI thing goes out and pulls up the Babylon Bee, where it's all bogus crap.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's not perfect and it lacks a human eye for oversight. It's fair to say that, right?
Right. But I've used it. I've used it for things. Matter of fact, when I was going back and forth with Ed Goldman on his Facebook page, that was my favorite thing I would do. Ed would say something. I would go into Chat GPT and I would put whatever words he said, and it would generate 4 paragraphs, and I'd shoot it back at Ed. And after a while, I thought to myself, okay, I'm wasting my time. You know, we need to talk to Ed. I haven't talked to him in a while. I don't even follow him on Facebook anymore because he just got to the point where it just got so ridiculous with Ed. You know, I mean, you know, you know why we have war in the Middle East?
I heard it has something to do with the Kiel Opera House.
Exactly right. It's because of the fact there's a war in the Middle East because the Kiel Opera House is not being treated properly. And if you think I'm kidding, go on Ed Goldman's Facebook time. No matter what the problem, Ed Goldman links it back to, it's almost like the reverse Kevin Bacon game. It's like to the point, no matter what the problem is, the cause of the problem comes back to the fact that the Kiel Opera House is not being treated properly. Well, John.
What I suggest, I know we're at the end of the show now, but I think that if Mike Elam wants to get elected county executive, I think he should go for Ed Goldman's plan to move the Kiel Opera House piece by piece to the Family Arena. I mean, who would be mad about that? The 8 people that go to Steamers games or whatever the hell they're called now.
Hold on a minute.
Like, just move it piece by piece.
They've got a big concert tomorrow night featuring the Cowsills and a bunch of other big hot artists. I mean, you're not going to be there, John?
Is that if you put beef outside your window, is that a cowsill? What the hell is a cowsill?
You don't know who the Cowsills are?
Absolutely not.
You really don't know who?
At the state. No, ask me a 5th time and I'll change my answer, Brad. The cowsills sound like somebody that should be at the state fair, which, by the way, the governor's ham breakfast is today. And you can find information at johncombest.com today. You can find a fascinating Instagram reel.
John,
tell me who the Cowsills are. I'm sure they sing a song. Hey, you know what I'll say to you, Brad? I should check it out. I won't. I'm too busy watching The Big Short.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?